Hello, welcome back to the United Mates Football Podcast. Today I'm joined in LA by my co-host Joe from our hometown of London, and as usual we have a special guest for today's show. He's a YouTuber best known as one of the lads from the hugely popular Football Daily channel. He also works as a presenter for his favourite club, Chelsea FC, and for Sky Sports as well. We welcome Zac Djellab to the United Mates Football Podcast. Zac, it is a pleasure to have you with us. How's it going?
Mate, thank you very much. Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Smashed my surname, so well done on that one. Really good, thank you. It's hot over here, but it's starting to get a little bit cooler today. Pretty good, thanks. Pretty good.
Yeah, really hot over here. I've had to turn my fans off to get the best audio quality in for this call, and I'm paying for it in my sweat. But Joe, as we record on Wednesday, the 16th of June, the Premier League fixtures for next season have just been announced, and your club Spurs are facing the reigning champions Man City on match day 1. How are you doing? How are you feeling about that? And I think most importantly, which team is Harry Kane going to be playing for on that day?
Oh, God. Well, he's definitely going to be playing in that game one way or another. God knows. It's going to go down to the wire, that transfer. It sounds like Levy's going to, do a Levy. But no, I'm good. And I had my first vaccine today, so there we go.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. All positive stuff there. But Zac, it is a pleasure to have you with us. And when we have guests on our podcast, we always start by asking an icebreaker question. So we're going to do the same for you, of course.
Okay.
Well, we've noticed recently, Zac, that there's a bit of a trend for sort of YouTubers to be getting in quite high-profile fights at the moment. I'm thinking of Logan Paul, Keitel, those.
Yeah.
He did his thing, and obviously you're a bit of a YouTuber yourself, Zac. So what we'd like to know is, and this doesn't have to be a YouTuber, but who would you like to fight? And we're going to give you some time to think about it. We're going to give you some time to think about it. So we'll tell you ours first. So for me. And this is definitely caveated with I'd have to bulk up and guarantee I could win. But I'd love to fight Wojciech Szczesny. And that's purely because, I'm a Spurs fan and you can probably work out why I want to fight him. But Kai, before we go to Zac, who would you like to fight?
Szczesny's massive, Joe. He's going to destroy you. Otherwise, he's...
I've got to bulk up. I've got to get myself in good shape, But,
well, he's known to, smoke a cigarette or two in the showers, so he might not have the stamina to stick with you.
I'll beat him on points. Yeah. I'll beat him on points.
Otherwise, I don't think I would have to bulk up in particular. I don't know if either of you are familiar with Cat Williams. He's an American comedian and an actor, and he was kind of popular on that Nick Cannon show, Wild 'N Out, for a little while. But there's this footage of him online. He got into a fight with a 17-year-old. And when I say he got into a fight, I mean he lost a fight with a 17-year-old. Apparently, he was playing in a local soccer game in Georgia here in the States. And there's this video online. You can find it if you just type in Cat Williams fight or whatnot. But he was beaten up by a high schooler. So I think that leaves me in with a decent chance of actually winning that one against a high-profile name. So that would be my pick, Cat Williams.
Ooh. That leaves it with me. It's hard. I wish I had beef with someone. I just say that name, but I really don't. I feel like it's probably got to be someone within the football community. Otherwise, it's just a bit of a weird fight. So maybe like a traditional journalist, like a YouTube versus traditional media. The only other one I can maybe think of is, I know the Irish guy from HITC, but I don't really mind him. He calls us out every now and again, but it's whatever. I have always wanted to do a fight. That is one thing I do want to maybe do. Not even against the YouTube, one day, is just do one boxing match and one boxing match only, just to see if I could do it. I did Muay Thai once for a little bit. I loved it. One of my favorite things I've ever done. So maybe one day, but specifically. I really don't have a name.
Bring on all comers.
Bring on all comers. Yeah, someone call me out. I'm there. I'll put the training in, and because I think I've got the body for it. I'm a stocky guy, 6'3". I reckon I could do all right if I tried. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of a mate. Definitely couldn't take on. Maybe I'd take on one of the FD boys. But I reckon I'd win. I reckon I'd win out of both of them. But I'm not too sure. Yeah, maybe the fans have a certain person in mind for me.
There we go. Someone needs to call out Zac. Who fancies it? I don't think I do. If you're 6'3", I don't think I back. But anyway, Zac, you're obviously, well, you work for Chelsea. You are a Chelsea fan as well. So tell us a bit about your earliest memories of being a Chelsea supporter and why they're the club that you support.
Yeah, well, so my normally a lot of people like their clubs are they're local to them, or their dads or granddads supported them or whatever. But for me, that was not really the case. Like I moved quite a bit when I was younger, so I wasn't really local to any clubs. And my dad never really supported a team. Loves football, like from Africa, loves football, but never really had like a number one team that he supported. He always said that he used to like, because they were on the news, Manchester United was one that he'd always known about, but he never really supported a team in England anyway. So I didn't really have that kind of link. And so when growing up, I played centre back, and like at that time the number one centre back was John Terry, and I absolutely adored his on the pitch antics, and he was one of the best defenders to play the game, and that was really how it began. And then I just started loving Drogba. Like my dad's a taxi driver around Gatwick Airport, and when Drogba first landed in the country, he met Didier Drogba. My dad speaks French, and so like they had a conversation. One of the first conversations he has in the UK with my dad, took him to Cobham, and so like there's little connections that all kind of added up, and that's how I kind of got into Chelsea, and been loving them ever since. And maybe a little bit lucky because they got they've had a decent couple of years over the past decade or two, and now that I work for them, it's really surreal. It's like a crazy dream that just I always say, like, when I'm older or when I'm have kids or whatever, I'll look back on it and maybe I might not be doing it as much then or whatever, and I think I'll realise then quite how mad it is that every other week I'm chatting to the players about the games and like get on with them, and like going to the Champions League final like I did a couple of weeks ago. Like, it's ridiculous. It's all insane. But no, it's good fun, and I picked the right team because my brothers picked Liverpool and Arsenal, and it's not been as successful.
Now, as an Arsenal supporter, I can relate to that all too well. Otherwise, it's very impressive and sounds like a lot of fun how it's kind of come full circle, your support for Chelsea into actually being able to work along with the team. So we're going to talk a bit about some of your work now, Zac, and obviously you're very active in the world of football media and content creation. And so analyzing the game and dealing with high profile personalities, but also thinking outside of the box are all things that you're very used to. I'd imagine that at Football Daily, though, you probably have the most creative control compared to when you're working for Chelsea or appearing on Sky Sports, for instance. So how do those roles tend to differ? And do you typically prefer one of those experiences over the others?
Oh, you know what? I wouldn't say I prefer one in particular. I think they're all really unique in their own way. Like, for instance, when it's Chelsea, it's very much actually saying that, Chelsea probably do give me a bit of creative control, but majority of the time it is turn up and you're it's set kind of like you're doing this certain thing. Like we did a Nerf shoot, I was presenting the Nerf shoot, or you're interviewing this player today, maybe do a bit of research beforehand, research also given to you with certain questions. Whereas you mentioned Sky, that is very much at the again, it differs depending on what, but recently I've been doing some stuff for Sky Sports News, and that is very much just like turn up, you'll be asked questions and you answer them kind of thing. Whereas you're right, with Football Daily is very much just like everything's in our creative control. It's been like that ever since I've been there. So for the past, I think it's 5 years today since I've been at FD, and so that I guess has allowed us to kind of go into things. So I know a bit more about what's happening because I've kind of been there. Like, I've been behind the camera, I've produced it, I say directed it, but like kind of all in one. So then when I go to a Chelsea or when I go to a Sky Sports or whatever it is, you have that understanding that like, okay, you might have to do an extra take, or you might have to do something a bit different because of, it'll work better in the edit. Whereas someone that may not have done that stuff might not quite realize that. And I think a lot of YouTubers have that. I think a lot of guys that do YouTube are very kind of understanding about all roles. They understand that compared to maybe more traditional media where they've never had to edit themselves, or they've never had to edit something or cut something out. So if you go, can you do another take? They're like, why? What was wrong with that? Whereas normally most people that do YouTube are completely fine with it, and actually normally end up being pretty good on camera anyway. They don't have to do like a second or third take. It's not they know because they know exactly what's needed. And so yeah, like I wouldn't say I have a particular favorite. Like obviously doing less work is pretty good for me. Like I can't complain. So if I'm not having to edit it myself or go in there and produce it and stuff like that. But I kind of enjoy both sides. Like I definitely enjoy the like big on-screen side a lot more, but like part of me does quite enjoy like the coming up with the idea process and like seeing it go from literally, so at the moment, like today I've been writing up an idea that hopefully will happen over the next couple of weeks, and going from just like something on paper and that you discussed in meetings to hopefully doing well on YouTube. So yeah, it's good fun, and I enjoy both sides of it, and all sides of the coin. But yeah, I can't really pick a specific favorite.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Otherwise, you're speaking about the process, and I guess when it comes to production, is there anything that you have access to now at Football Daily, or any skills or techniques that you've learned down the years that sort of makes you kind of look back and judge your old content more harshly, or maybe conversely makes you even more proud of what you were able to achieve in the beginning with sort of less knowledge and maybe less technical devices?
For sure, 100%. I mean, like for individually, for like me personally, I knew nothing, literally nothing before FD. Like I didn't know how to edit, didn't know how to like present per se, or like write and stuff like this. And then FD has allowed me to do that. But in terms of like as FD, yeah, like getting access to some of the talent that we get access to. Like I remember one of the first things we did with Sky was like do a video with Thierry Henry. Like that just wouldn't have happened otherwise. But then more on like a production level, like using cameras that are like top level stuff. Like I don't know if people know them, but like using cameras that are like Sony FS5s, FS7s, AS7s, which beforehand we weren't using. Like we were using like oh god, I can't even remember, but like not that level of camera. But even like studios, like before Sky and before that part, we were shooting in an attic on a green screen on like a picnic table. And then after we were able, well, before COVID and hopefully after COVID as well, we'll go back to the studio where we actually had like a proper set made, and the process, like the computers beforehand, it was like kind of crappy computers that took, like if it was I remember the boys once telling me about they did an edit where it was exporting for something like 3 hours, and it was only a 10-minute video. Like it was, but because it had After Effects, it was like rough. Whereas now, like that's just not heard of. Like it's the computers, like we've got decent ones. And so yeah, definitely, like you look back on it and it is a bit like, even to be fair, even when we look back on our old videos, like we laugh because they're like comparing them to now, it's like even just the editing of like the cutting out a green screen, like it's improved so much more. So I think there's actually both sides, like looking back and being like, wow, look where we've come, and but also looking back and being like, we were shit. Like we weren't so good back then.
Yeah, it's always funny, sort of the growing pains when you notice when it comes to the editing, especially, you're sort of like taking 10 steps and then eventually you realize that you could have done it using one piece of software.
Oh, mate. Oh, so many times, so many little bits like that, But even just like help each other out. Like I remember you look back on some of the first videos on like on Euro Football Daily, or that time when we were all there on Football Daily like 5 years ago. Like some of us, like I just like the color correction on it, we're just red. Completely red. There's some. I specifically remember one video where I'm blue. I'm so blue. But like now, it's just like learning like that kind of stuff. And because before, like that's nothing any of us would have done. It's very much kind of been like trial and error, and like the fans have been able to also, all the people watching have been able to kind of see us develop that side of it. And like we've now done some shoots where we look back on now, we're like, wow, we've actually developed quite far. And very much like that's the best thing about YouTube, is that like it's, or at least then, because we've developed, it gives you time to develop. You're able to kind of learn on the job. You're allowed trial and error. But yeah, you look back at some of them, they are quite rough.
Well, you've certainly polished Football Daily into quite a diamond at this point, but we're going to move on from your more formal work in the media to a quick game now. And it's inspired actually by a video from your own YouTube channel outside of Football Daily, in which you play Bamzooky against their YouTubers, including a former guest of ours, Max Bosch. So Zac, I guess before we jump into the game, can you actually explain Bamzooky to anyone who won't know what it is, because I watched the video and I still don't really understand what it's all about.
Oh, mate. Bamzooky is one of the best UK children's TV shows there's ever been, along with Temple Run and 50/50. But yeah, Bamzooky is basically these kids would generate, normally be like a group of 3, would create these like little computer-generated monsters. They would then go on the show against another group of kids, and their monsters would battle it out on challenges where it's either like who's the strongest and can push each other off. Other challenges would be like getting to these like points quickest in a time challenge, and little things like that. And yeah, in that video, I got a few YouTubers to create their own and come up against my ones. And I won't spoil it who won, but yeah, it was good fun, and a lot of shouting was happening.
It looked like a really good time, and I'll probably have to try my hand at Bamzooky one of these days. But I guess
it's a pain in the ass to build, man. Yeah. It was so annoying to build. Like it's so because it's a program from like 2004, and so like nowadays it's like a pain. But yeah, it was good fun.
Yeah, no, it looks like a good payoff. Back to this game, and I guess inspired by the variety of competition that you'll see taking place in Bamzooky, and then also by your many talents, Zac, we're going to be focusing on multi-talented footballers. So I have the names of a few footballers who have excelled in other sports, and Zac and Joe need to tell me which sport that was. So it's a list of 8 names for now. It's going to be like sort of if you think you know the answer, you go for it. If you end up needing clues, I can provide them. But the first player who post his footballing career went into another sport is once Everton goalkeeper and England goalkeeper Nigel Martyn. So what was another sport that he played after he hung up his boots?
Is it like fishing or something like that?
It's something like that, in my opinion, in the sense that it's not very exciting, although I might be stepping on some people's toes when I say that.
Oh God.
It's very English.
Rounders?
Nigel
Martyn, yeah, king of the rounders. No, it's more mainstream than any of this, at least especially in England.
Wait, it's not sea-based or water-based in any way, is it?
No, not at all. And in fact, the title of his position is pretty similar to the position that he played in football.
Cricket?
Yes, Nigel Martyn wants to become a wicket.
Wow. A wicket keeper. Yeah, wicket keeper.
Yeah,
Jesus.
Yes, playing some local cricket. So takes the lead. Moving on to, I think, the only name in this list who isn't yet retired. And it's a player playing at the Euros right now, Ivan Perisic. What is another sport that he's competed in at a decent level?
Archery. Archery. Like, that would not surprise me.
Joe, any thoughts?
Just because he's European and it seems to be big there, handball.
Okay, you're getting on to something. You're getting a bit closer. This is kind of like a tropical sport.
Volleyball.
Just tweak it slightly and you're there.
Volleyball.
What'd you say, Joe?
Beach volleyball.
Beach volleyball is correct. Yeah.
Nicely done. Nicely done.
He's a
not the tallest guy though, is he? That's quite impressive. Fair play to him.
Yeah, he's got good feet and good hands, I suppose. Moving on to another player with good hands, and I think this one's pretty relatively common knowledge compared to the others. But Petr Cech.
Ice hockey.
Oh yeah.
Ice hockey.
Another keeper in ice hockey, Petr Cech. So Zac's gone 2-1 up. Moving on to a legend of the game who had to retire because of injury, but then found his way into another quote-unquote sport. This one's a bit debatable. Gabriel Batistuta.
Oh, is this darts?
No. If you're thinking of like a pub sport, this is like about as far as you can get. This is like
I love the idea of Batistuta just squaring up with like Michael Van Gogh.
Related.
Argentinian beer. This is like a very noble sport. Like you'd have to just have a ridiculous amount of money to even compete in the first place.
No. Oh, what, polo?
Yeah.
Oh, it is polo. It's a great shout. It is polo. Yeah, nicely done.
I guess that kind of makes him like one of the gauchos, just like horseback. Yeah. So that makes a bit more sense. Otherwise, what is that? That's, I believe, 2 apiece at this point. Moving on to the 5th guy, and this one you'll probably both know as well, Grant Holt.
WWE wrestler.
Yeah. Grant Holt, along with Tim Visa, 2 footballers who've made their way into professional wrestling. So I guess Zac retakes the lead. We've got another goalkeeper. It seems like all these goalkeepers are just very adept at transferring into another sport. So Santiago Canizares.
Bullfighting.
Oh God, I don't know. Basketball.
This is another one of those where you might debate the sort of sport aspect to it, in the sense that kind of like how Batistuta was horseback. This is not on an animal, but you're using
Rowing.
It's on land. Going to be on land.
It's not that kind of Spanish version of squash. I don't know what it is.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about, but no, it's not. It's not that. This is going to be a motorsport.
Oh, I don't know, MotoGP thing, motorbikes or something? Or?
That's what I was thinking.
On
I don't know.
4 wheels.
On 4. What's it even called? Like is it the Dalloway Rally?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to give it to Zac for the reference of rally, because it's rally driving.
Rally driving, yeah. Because also, you know who else does that? And it might come up. I'm not too sure, but
AVB.
AVB on Driven as well.
Oh yeah. No, he's not. He hasn't made the list, but I guess it's a popular sport for these guys who are living in Southwest Europe into eventually. But we've got a couple more, and I think Zac's a couple points ahead. So Joe, you need both of these. We've got. Gosh, I don't know if anyone knows how to say this guy's first name. Besant Lizarazu.
Oh, judo or some sort of martial arts.
Yeah, that counts. Jiu-jitsu.
Smashed it.
Yeah. I knew that for some reason.
That's good. That's good.
So yeah, jiu-jitsu, like Lizarazu, definitely nobody who you would want to have boxed in our kind of hypothetical who would we fight game. This is either for Zac to take the W or for it to be a nice diplomatic draw.
Ooh.
And probably the biggest legend on this list, Paolo Maldini.
Oh God.
Oh, something classy.
Tennis?
Yeah, that's a good start.
I would not be surprised. You're probably right. Is it Joe said tennis?
Oh, just Joe in there first with tennis? Yeah, Joe's correct.
Smashed it. Well done, Joe. Very good. Very good, mate.
Yeah, draw, that kind of works out well for all.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, well done, Joe. Well done, Zac. Very impressed with your sort of knowledge, or even just kind of how you figured it out based off of if you didn't know in the first place. You kind of like gauged their personalities, and I think you honed in pretty quickly. So well done.
Thank you very much.
Nice. I'm just gutted. I'll give you one random fact that Matt Grimes, captain of Swansea City, he used to play ultimate frisbee for like England under 15s or something like that.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that's one of the more random ones out there. But yeah, Matt Grimes aside, I think we're going to have to talk about a team that I potentially dislike even more than Arsenal. I mean, Zac, you're a lovely guy, but I'm not a fan of Chelsea. But we're going to talk about them. So, you mentioned it earlier, Zac, actually, that you were out in Porto for Chelsea's Champions League victory. And look, as a fan, to see your team win the Champions League live, it's one thing. But in the times we're living in, it's almost like it's a gift. So I know you also, you work for Chelsea as well. But just describe the experience to us of seeing the team you support win the Champions League live at the stadium.
I've never understood when people be like, "Oh, it felt like a dream," and like stuff like that. But that whole trip, like the second I took off to when I came back into England, was like a dream, like this weird thing that I couldn't even imagine. And like, obviously, I was working at the finals, so like I was shooting constantly, and so where I actually was in the media bit, where like all the journalists are writing and all this kind of stuff, and everyone, there's so many, great, because there's so many international journalists there as well. And so I remember when like Havertz scored, like I'm going crazy, but I'm also like looking around, I'm like, no one else is. And I was like, what's happening here? So it's like this weird thing, but I was like, am I allowed to be celebrating like this? Am I going to get chucked out? But then to the left of me are the Chelsea fans, and I didn't get chucked out, so it's good. But it was so surreal because the whole time, like around, I obviously had said like I think Chelsea are going to win the Champions League, blah blah blah. That was like the supporter in me, but like the realist in me, and I'm happy to admit it was like we were 2 years at least, maybe 3 years ahead of what was kind of expected from this team. It's such a young team, and so like I went there being like, as long as we do a good performance, if we lose 2-1, we lose 1-0, and I'm happy I thought this and not the players or Thomas Tuchel, Jesus. But I was like, as long as we, we do a good performance, we show our best, and we lose, I don't mind. Like we have done so incredibly well to get here. But then, like once you're there, you're thinking like, oh my god, imagine if we win this. Like, imagine if we win this. And you're right, like the whole experience of Porto and that, because I'd never really known much about Porto, and I went there. It's a beautiful city. Like I'd happily go back on holiday there. The food, the people, the drink there was incredible. And yeah, like it was so surreal to see your club, because 2012 I'd watched it at home, and like I don't know if it's that like I've watched so much football when I've watched 2012 on TV, but like seeing it in person just didn't feel real. And like seeing like other players like Mason Mount, who'd only been in the squad for 2 years, but he's been so incredibly important and vital, and this team that was kind of like had a good season, but also a bad season as well. Like obviously Frank Lampard had left midway through, and so many changes, ups and downs during the season. Win the Champions League in front of my eyes was like it was just, my brain just wasn't computing it. And then like I'd seen them lift it, and then had to like run off to go do a shoot or like the live show for Chelsea. And so like it was this weird thing where I just couldn't quite get my head around it. And even to this day, I still like thinking back to it, I'm just like, what? We've won the Champions League. And you're right, because of COVID times and everything, I think that also played into it, because there was like a half-empty stadium. You wouldn't have known. The fans were incredible, or at least, being biased, the Chelsea fans were incredible. But it was like so surreal. Even the players, like I spoke to Mason Mount after the game, with his brother, and I was like, how's it feel? And he was like, it's mental. It was like, it's so surreal. Like you can't even imagine. Like the best players, right, always think that they want to win the Champions League one day. No one ever thinks they're going to do it at 22 years old. Right? And he did that. I remember even before, like going there, I remember saying it was like either Phil Foden is going to win the Champions League at 21 or Mason Mount is going to win it at 22. Both cases it's incredible. But yeah, as I said, like surreal, like a dream, and just something that like I in no place in my mind ever thought I would go to a Champions League final, let alone to see my own club go there, let alone to even go and see them win it. So to have all of that happen, and as you said, during a time where like even less people are as fortunate to go, like it is crazy, and like I realized how fortunate I was and everything, and I hope I did a good job with the content that we were making out there. But yeah, so crazy, and it will be something that like I'll think about forever, until I'll take it to the grave. It'll be my best. I don't have kids yet, I'm not married yet, and I can safely say it is the best thing I've ever done and ever had happen in my life.
Well, I better get married or have some kids quickly, because Arsenal have disappointed in that regard as far as winning the Champions League. I know Joe, as a Spurs fan, can relate to that. The only finals that I've been to were when we lost 2-1 to Chelsea. Abu Dhabi kicked John Terry in the face. Theo Walcott scored his first goal. And then the other time was when we lost, it's just painful even to bring up, when we lost to Birmingham in the Carling Cup final somehow. I've got bad luck. I should just stay far away from these cups.
Mate, so do I. So like I don't wear Chelsea shirts when watching football games, because anytime I've worn a Chelsea shirt, we lose. So I don't wear Chelsea shirts. I have them, do not wear them when Chelsea are playing. And I also, before the final, I've seen Chelsea play like, I don't know, 12 times. I've only seen them win live in person twice. And so I was like, I'm a bad omen here. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do here? And so like this suit that I was wearing to this final, whenever we've got a final on, I'm wearing it. I'm not really a superstitious person, but this I am. And so yeah, I was like petrified that it's like, because even like people, like fans have been like, Zac, are you going to the final? If you are, don't. And I was like, well, I really want to go. And so yeah, no, thankfully I think that omen has been destroyed now.
Yeah, you've broken the curse, and yeah. We'll look forward to seeing you suited up at finals. Otherwise, I guess now that you have won the Champions League, Chelsea have gone and done it for the second time since the turn of the millennium. It puts you again in a, last time you went out and got Eden Hazard. This puts you in another good position to kind of strengthen moving into the next campaign. So what would you like to see? What are you expecting to see as far as ins and outs at Stamford Bridge this summer? And then from there, what should the club's expectations be for next season?
I think you worded that quite nicely, because what would I want to see is that there's only one name realistically, and that's Erling Haaland. Like he is there aren't many strikers right now that you can get and be quite comfortable that they will do well for you. There's off the back of my hands, like if you could get Benzema, he'd be fantastic, even though he's 33. If you could get Romelu Lukaku, he would be great. That's just not happening. And Erling Haaland is the only guy that you look at and go like, this guy is going to be brilliant for you for a decade or so. But realistically, I just don't see that happening. I would love to, and I'd give anything to happen. And actually, I'm probably more convinced now than I was 2 weeks ago, since these rumours and the talk about him, that Chelsea are kind of possibly willing to pay the 150 million or whatever it is for him. And if I'm Chelsea, and I say this knowing nothing behind the scenes, I put it out there, I know nothing. But if I am Chelsea, I would go, okay, I would rather pay 150 million now than 60 or 80, whatever his release clause is next summer. And risk him going to Barcelona, Real Madrid, Manchester United, or whatever, because the idea that this guy, he is so good, and he takes you from a contender in the Premier League, in the Champions League, to the favourite. Because Chelsea's squad is really, really good. It's a very young squad, and I think there might be some turnover over the coming years. And I even read reports today from Goal saying that apparently, even if this Haaland deal doesn't happen this summer, it's setting a good relationship to possibly maybe try and get Bellingham in a couple of years. At the moment, I feel like Chelsea basically just need to sign the Dortmund squad. Some players from Dortmund squad, that's it. Because I think they're quite well stocked in their academy and in their and who they already have. They're a fairly young squad. The old players aren't even that old, really. Rudiger's still in his late 20s, and he's considered one of the more experienced guys. So that would be my dream. As I said, realistically, I don't think we'll quite get him. I don't necessarily think we need a striker. It would be fantastic, but I don't necessarily think we've done okay this season without one. And yes, Timo Werner's output hasn't been great, but I was reading a stat where it's someone that has underperformed the XG like Timo Werner has actually gone on and smashed it the next season every single time. It was something about he went and improved by 40% the next season in the worst case scenario, which I'm kind of hoping for Timo Werner. We can see that Kai Havertz can play up front, so I don't think that position is as desperate. If you can't get Lukaku and Haaland, then I don't think it's worth risking it on Andre Silva, who's had a great season at Frankfurt, but at AC Milan wasn't so good. So risking it on someone like that, I think he could potentially be a good striker, but I don't think it's worth the risk. What I would maybe say is, I honestly find it really difficult. I wouldn't necessarily say that Chelsea need to go and buy someone. I think there's a possibility Chelsea might sell a few players, depending what they want to do with Billy Gilmore. If they want him to get into the first team next season, and maybe they might sell one of Cover or Jorginho to try and make room for Billy to get more minutes. But it's hard because Chelsea are quite stocked, and even when they're not stocked, say defence, you think they might need to buy a centre-back. Mark Gehi has had a brilliant season at Swansea. I don't think he's going to come in and be that guy just yet this season. He might need a Premier League loan, but Conor Gallagher had a good time at West Brom. Again, don't think he's going to come in and start, but he might have to go on loan again. So there are players there that I think Chelsea can use over the next year or two. Whereas, because I think Chelsea, most of their business in the summer gone. We brought in 6 players, 7 players, and so I don't necessarily think there's a position that's crying out for a player. But look, if I can, Erling Haaland is the guy that I want. I think I've kind of gone in a circle there just to come back to saying Erling Haaland, even though I said I don't think it will happen. But that's the guy for me.
I mean, why wouldn't you want Erling Haaland at Stamford Bridge? And as you're talking there, it all sounds worryingly positive at Chelsea. Whereas at Tottenham and, Arsenal as well, for both of us. Sadly, that is not the case.
There were rumours about Kane. I'd take him every day of the week for sure. But even I know that even the most optimistic Chelsea fan knows it's just not possible unless we're giving you 200 million.
Yeah, I mean, that would genuinely break my heart. Let's just hope that situation does not happen. But we've got one final thing to do on this podcast, and we like to build starting 11s. So you won't probably be surprised to find out that the starting 11 today is going to be Euros themed. So what we're going to do is we are going to create a team where it's going to include players who are all playing in this Euros tournament, but you can only have one player per nation. So we have to be a little bit creative. We're going to go with a 4-3-3 formation, and we will start with the goalie. If you're stuck for choices, I can provide some suggestions. But first of all, I'll just throw it out there to Zac and Kai. Who's a goalie you'd think about putting in? But bear in mind, once you use a player from a nation, that's the only one from that nation.
I think we have to go for a goalkeeper here from a nation that is more obscure, because we can't be wasting a Germany or a France in goal here. And I think they're like Galashi, he's good enough to go in goal for us. We're not really going to be needing a Hungarian outfield, are we? I feel like I'm just trying to think if I'm missing out on anyone else, Kai.
I'm just wondering if we might be able to get away with like a Donnarumma in terms of are we gonna need an outfielder from Italy? I'm thinking already possibly in the defense that we might, but I'm happy. Gulashi's he's a top bloke, So, and he played for, I think, randomly Liverpool ages ago.
He did.
So,
he did.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Why not just start it off with kind of an obscure one?
Yeah,
there we go. Okay, so we've got our goalkeeper, Galashi, a Hungarian number 1. Let's move on to right backs now. If you guys want to throw out names, go for it. If you get stuck, I've got a few names noted down, so I can maybe provide some suggestions if need be.
I'm just getting up I'm forgetting which nation's in it, so I'm having to quickly Google and just make sure I've got everyone. Okay, right back is interesting.
Someone like a Denzel Dumfries from the Netherlands has kind of gotten off to a good start, but Zac seems to have some opinions on that.
See, I was more just thinking I quite like a Frankie de Jong in midfield.
I
quite like a Frankie de Jong in midfield compared to this could be where we might use Italy. Who's Italy's right back?
It's the one
Florenzi.
Yeah,
he's actually not that great. so maybe not him.
Who's Germany's best player? I think Kimmich's got to be up there.
Kimmich,
yeah, he's someone I had noted down. Yeah, I know they lost last night. He's just a great footballer, Kimmich, isn't he?
I almost feel like he could be the guy.
I'm with you there. I'm with you there. Like out of all of their players, there are other nations we can use better players in other positions, I think. So yeah, I think Kimmich is a great shout. Nice.
Okay, Joshua Kimmich is our right back. So now we've got to pick 2 centre halves. Who are we going with? I mean, I think I might just throw out a name. Oh, it's tricky actually, because if you play Ruben Dias, then there's a certain attacker you can't put in. But Kai, any names to throw out just to get us going with the centre backs?
It's maybe on like the edge of it being not the best pick, but I think he's still pretty good. So maybe I'll divert back to Italy here with someone like Chiellini.
Oh, okay. I like Chiellini, and I was going to say Christensen here.
Oh, okay.
You're wearing your Chelsea cap.
Where am I Chelsea cap? I'm also trying to save our attacking play, like the bigger nations, to be attacking players. Like I'll happily use an Italy here and a Chiellini.
Okay.
And I was thinking maybe then we can get rid of Denmark, and then we've still got the likes of France, England, and the other boys to kind of use later on.
Let's do that.
Nice. Okay, experienced head in Chiellini, and then a slightly younger centre back in Christensen. We'll go with that. The 2 C's, the 2 CHs even. Right. Left back. Now, there is someone who I feel is a bit of a shoo-in for this, and he is Scott. Well, actually, there's potentially 2 Scottish guys, but I'm just going to go out there and say, can we look beyond Andrew Robertson for this left back role?
Yeah, stick him in there. There's no one else to pick it from Scotland. Come on, let's be quite serious. Maybe Billy Gilmore, but that is my Chelsea hat on.
I think we've missed a trick then in that case. If Robbo's going to be left back, then surely one of the centre backs should have been David Alaba.
Oh, yeah, very true. Right, okay. Well, I think then Christensen's been relegated to the bench. So David Alaba, welcome to this side. I'm sure he is over the moon right now, wherever he is. Right, we've got our defence, but we've got 3 midfielders, and we'll start with getting a defensive midfielder in there. Who are we going to put in at defensive mid?
That's
tricky. I don't think we can use France. I don't think we can use Kante, just because up top I want to use Mbappe. I love it. I don't get me wrong. Best DM, of course, Kante, but I think we should be getting Kylian Mbappe there.
Makes sense. I can throw a name out now that Christensen is no longer in the team. I can throw a Tottenham name in, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, the Danish player, of course. Kai, have you got anyone else to maybe consider for that role?
It's hard because if Frankie de Jong's going to be one of the other centre midfielders, then I've got someone who has to be the other centre mid. So it's tricky.
Who's your other centre mid?
Luka Modric has to be in this team.
Oh, see, I was thinking we got to get KDB in there.
Oh, there's so many difficult decisions to be made.
I mean, is there a way that we could have a three of De Jong, De Bruyne, and Modric? And
yeah, let's just tell De Jong to put a bit more defensive work in, mate.
yeah,
Come on.
there we go.
Play the quarterback role.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm happy with that.
De Jong, De Bruyne, and then maybe for the purposes of this team, De Modric. But no, so just Modric on this occasion. Okay, we've got our midfield three. This is where, I mean, there's the few that we've saved a few till. I mean, like Mbappe's going in there, so I'm just that's done. Mbappe is one of our front three. We're sticking Ronaldo in there, I assume. But what do you guys think? I mean,
I think we have to put Ronaldo in there, but I also think I want Harry Kane in there.
Yeah. I think maybe
he's not
on the left, Mbappe on the right.
Exactly. I know he's not played on the left for a little while, Ronaldo. But we'll tell him, come on, mate, do one for the team here. Get out there. You can come in a little bit if you need to. And if we end up playing a bit of a 4-3-1-2, Mbappe drops into a bit of a creative midfielder role, who knows? Then so be it. But I think Ronaldo has to go left wing and Harry Kane up top.
Great. Okay. I mean that is our team then. We've done pretty well, to be fair. We've got Galassi in goal. We've got Kimmich at right back. We've got Alaba and Chiellini at centre backs. Good old Andrew Robertson at left back, and then a pretty damn good midfield three of Frankie De Jong, Kevin De Bruyne, and Luka Modric. And then maybe an even better front three: Cristiano Ronaldo, Harry Kane, and Kylian Mbappe. Wow, what a team that is! I think that actually went rather well. Shows there's a lot of good footballers at the Euros, and we'll be watching a lot of that over the next couple of weeks. But
Galassi will be laughing.
Yeah, I mean,
I was just thinking then maybe go Kasper Schmeichel. I was actually just thinking maybe you get him out, go Kasper Schmeichel.
Yeah, he's pushing. He's certainly pushing Peter for that starting role. They're in the training camp, really. They're working hard for that spot. We'll leave it with Peter for now. I think we've got his hopes up. We've already disappointed one day in Andreas Christensen as well, so we can't do it to Kasper as well. I think that would be too much for them. But sadly, that does bring us to the end of today's podcast. So, as always, a big thank you to my co-host, Keitel. And then an even bigger thank you from the both of us to our wonderful guest, Zac Djellab. Zac, thank you, Zac. We hope you've enjoyed being our guest. And also, how can our listeners best follow you? And what projects are you working on at the moment?
Yes, my name, Zac Djellab, is basically how you can find me on anything and everything, even on Facebook, but don't add me there, please, because that's just for my friends and family. If you're on LinkedIn, do it. Screw it. Why not? Football Daily is also where I post a lot of content talking about football, surprisingly. Chelsea's official YouTube channel and all their Instagram stuff. I also do stuff on there, and I do other bits and bobs. As I said, if you follow me on Twitter, I'll probably tweet it so you can see it that way.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks again, Zac. An absolute pleasure having you on the podcast. Really enjoyed that. As far as our listeners and viewers, we hope that you enjoyed that as well. And if you did, please do follow or subscribe wherever it is that you found us. We are United Mates Football Podcast on all of your favorite podcast streaming platforms. Same name on YouTube, where you can put some faces to the voices. On social media, we're at United Mates FP across Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We'll be posting all of our new podcast episodes, interviews, and articles there. Otherwise, for all of the above content in one place, check out the website, unitedmatesfp.com, and subscribe to our newsletter while you're at it. Until next time, everyone, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Goodbye.